right, let's dive into one of the wildest family dramas in ancient history. It's a story straight out of the book of Genesis, and it's got everything. Parental favoritism, a crazy disguise, and a stolen blessing that literally changed the fate of nations. This is the story of Jacob and Esau, and how one single meal set history on a completely new course.
So you gotta ask, right? How can something like this, a simple lie, some goat skins, and a savory stew, have consequences that would ripple out for thousands of years? Well, that's what we're gonna unpack. This isn't just some old story. It's about how deep family dysfunction can actually shape destiny.
Okay, so to get all this whole deception even worked, we've got to look inside the family home. Because this wasn't just a case of brothers not getting along. No, this was a household that was fundamentally broken, split right down the middle by favoritism.
So you can see the battle lines drawn right here in the family. You've got Isaac, the old patriarch whose eyesight is failing, and he just adores Esau, his rugged, outdoorsy son. But then you have Rebekah. She's all in on Jacob, the quieter, stay-at-home twin. And this isn't just a small preference. This parental favoritism is the crack in the foundation that Rebekah is about to blow wide open.
And you see, Rebekah's favoritism isn't just a random choice. It's actually rooted in this incredible prophecy she received before the boys were even born. This idea that the older will serve the younger, that just flipped the entire cultural script on its head. The firstborn son was supposed to get everything. So Rebekah is clinging to this, convinced she's just helping God's plan along.
All right, so this tension that's been bubbling under the surface, it's about to just explode into a full-blown conspiracy. Isaac is old, he's blind, and Rebekah sees her chance. This is the moment she's been waiting for, and she steps up to become the mastermind of this whole incredible deception.
Look at this plan. It's audacious, but it's also meticulously planned. She weaponizes everything she knows about her family. Isaac's love for that specific savory meal, his blindness, and even Esau's, his hairiness. Jacob was nervous, but Rebekah was so committed she told him, "Let any curse be on me." She was playing for keeps.
And let's be clear, Jacob isn't just some passive puppet here. No way. He's an active participant. When his dad, Isaac, asks how he got back from the hunt so fast, Jacob doubles down and lies, even bringing God's name into it to make it sound more convincing. You can tell Isaac is suspicious, but the disguise, the smell of Esau's clothes, the feel of the hairy goat skins, it's just enough to fool him.
So the plan? It worked. Perfectly. Jacob walks out of that tent with this hugely powerful blessing that was meant for his brother. But that victory is going to turn sour fast. The consequences are immediate, they are tragic, and they are about to shatter this family for decades.
Now, to really get why Esau completely loses it, you have to understand this difference. See, years before, Esau had already sold his birthright to Jacob for a bowl of soup. That was the material stuff, the inheritance. But the blessing, that was spiritual. That was the declaration of God's favor and future prosperity. Jacob has now swindled him out of both his earthly fortune and his spiritual destiny. It was a total wipeout.
And boom. This is the moment it all comes crashing down. Esau gets back, he realizes what's happened, and his grief just curdles into this pure, murderous rage. He lets out this heartbreaking cry and then vows, "The moment my father is gone, I'm going to kill my brother Jacob."
Rebekah hears this, and to save his life, she sends her favorite son running. And get this, at 77 years old, Jacob is forced to flee on a journey of over 800 kilometers, all the way to Haran to stay with his uncle. And in the most tragic twist of all, Rebekah, the one who set this whole thing in motion, would die before she ever saw her beloved son again.
Okay, fast forward a bunch of years. Jacob's living in a new land, but you know how they say what goes around comes around? Well, the trickster is about to get a serious taste of his own medicine. He's about to meet his match.
So, over in Haran, Jacob falls head over heels for Rachel, his uncle Laban's younger daughter. But Jacob's a fugitive. He's got no money for a bride price, so he makes a deal. He'll work for Laban for 7 full years just to earn the right to marry her.
And because he's so in love, those 7 years just fly by. Laban throws this huge wedding feast. But then, on the wedding night, under the cover of darkness, Laban pulls the ultimate switcheroo. He swaps the brides and tricks Jacob into marrying his older daughter Leah instead.
You can't make this stuff up, right? The poetic justice is just staggering. The guy who used a disguise in the dark to deceive his blind father is now himself deceived in the dark by his father-in-law. And when Jacob confronts him, Laban just kind of shrugs and says, "Hey, it's custom."
And this timeline really lays out the long-term price he paid. To finally marry Rachel, the woman he actually loves, he has to agree to work another 7 years. So his one act of deception all those years ago, it cost him 14 years of hard labor under a boss who was even more cunning than he was.
So this whole incredible saga brings us to the biggest, most complicated question of the entire story. If what Jacob did was so wrong, so full of lies and deceit, why did God let the blessing stick? Why was this flawed man, this trickster, chosen to carry the covenant forward?
Right, so how do we make sense of that? If Jacob was a liar, why did he get to keep the blessing? Well, the theological answer is that this was all part of a divine plan that was set in motion way before Jacob ever put on that goatskin disguise.
And here's the bottom line, the core takeaway. God didn't bless Jacob because he lied. The blessing was already his by divine choice, just like the prophecy to Rebekah said. Isaac's mistaken blessing was just the flawed human way that a pre-decided outcome was delivered.
And this is such a key point. The story doesn't give a thumbs up to lying or cheating, not at all. What it shows is that a perfect, divine plan can be accomplished through and even in spite of the messy, selfish, and deeply flawed actions of human beings.
And that leaves us with this massive question, one people are still wrestling with today. If destiny is a sure thing, how much do our choices actually matter? This ancient story seems to suggest that, while a grand plan might be unfolding, our choices, both the good and the bad, have very real and often very painful consequences for us and everyone around us. It's definitely something to think about.